Hello, this video is about Section 5 of Mission Action Planning, that's lay leadership and focal ministry. I'm going to talk to Sally Myers, who's the Director of Focal Ministry, about focal ministry in particular. So Sally, can you start off by explaining to me what focal ministry is?
Well, focal ministry will look different in each individual parish, but overall, focal ministers are those people who have been called out of their congregations to provide a regular presence, both to the congregations themselves and their communities. They are leaders in the local church, and there are 4 aspects to their leadership. The first is that they are volunteering to be a public face of the church within their congregation and communities. The second is that they are stepping up and saying that they will take responsibility with the oversight minister and significant others for developing and delivering the ministry and mission within their parish. Thirdly, some focal ministers may or may not take responsibility for a particular aspect of that ministry and mission, perhaps building up a team of people around them to work with them. And finally, and probably most importantly, especially since we're in this section, they're responsible for encouraging the gifts and vocations of everyone, whether that is a vocation to family and friends, a work vocation, or perhaps also to ministry within the church.
I see, that's really helpful, thank you. So looking at the Mission Action Planning document, stage 1 is, at the moment, we haven't got any focal ministers. So if a church is wanting to get started on that focal ministry journey, they're wanting to move from stage 1 to stage 2, how do they get involved? How do they start off?
Well, they start by praying about it and having the discussions at PCC, hopefully having a look at the website and having a look at the information there. But also I found that I've been asked to attend PCC meetings, perhaps congregational meetings to come and preach, or other sorts of engagement. And I'm quite happy to go along and talk to people about what focal ministry might look like in their area. So the PCC, at the end of the process of exploration, decide that they are going to formally investigate whether this is right for them, and perhaps start looking around for people who they might want to nominate to be focal ministers. So focal ministers don't apply as such, they're recognised for their leadership skills and their gifts from the local congregation.
That makes sense. Great, so now let's think about how a church might go from exploring focal ministry to actually launching it, so moving from stage 2 to stage 3.
So that's been made as easy as possible and as straightforward as possible, and we are very prepared to make the process fit individual parishes and people. But basically the overall process is that the PCC decide to nominate potential focal ministry candidates. There might be 1, there might be 2, 3, or even 4 within the parish, depending on how big the team is and what the workload is. So the PCC formally nominate someone who has agreed to be a focal minister, and these people may be lay or ordained, they may be readers and church wardens already and taking this public role on as part of their ministry, or they may be relatively new to the church. It's really up to the PCC and the oversight minister and others to prayerfully discern who these people might be that would be serving for a period of 3 years. So they're authorised and commissioned for 3 years. So once we have the names and the nominations, I meet with them to get to know them a little more, and then we invite the whole of the people who are involved in leadership in the mission, in the parish, to do what we call getting ready. Now, getting ready is a series of 3 sessions. It's not very heavy. It's more facilitated conversation than learning, actually. And during those sessions, we look at how the new team is going to work together with the existing structures, and look at any potential problems or stumbling blocks. We look at how the team and what they're doing is going to stay rooted in prayer and scripture and how they're going to care for one another. And then in the final session, we look at what possibilities for ministry and mission are opened up by the new way of working. Once getting ready is finished, then it's time for them to be authorised and commissioned. So we set a date for that to happen, hopefully when a lot of the existing congregation are able to be there to support them. And so that's usually on a Sunday. And that can happen during any kind of service. We can make sure that it works for whatever the church tradition there is. Bishop Pete signs a certificate of authorisation, which is presented at that service, along with a focal ministry badge, and they are commissioned, as I say, for a period of 3 years, and that's when their ministry as focal ministers begins.
I see, it all sounds really exciting. Okay, so when we've got our team of focal ministers authorised and commissioned, so we've launched focal ministry, what's next for them in their journey? How are we moving from stage 3 to stage 4?
Getting to stage 4 is all about really embracing and making most of the learning opportunities and support that is in place for focal ministers. So part of the agreement with the oversight minister is to set up regular meetings of supervision and support, but there's also a sort of framework of support behind that offered by the diocese. And so making sure that we talk on a regular basis to the focal ministers to make sure that they're getting all of the support and learning that they need. And the learning programme for focal ministry is not front-loaded like it is for a lot of ministries. So quite often you will find that you need to do a 3-year training course before you go into a certain ministry. For focal ministry, all the learning is learner-centred and happens alongside them in ministry to support what they're doing. So we have regular learning events that they're invited to, and regular retreats as well, to make sure that they're fed spiritually as well as theologically and practically. And alongside that, there are online resources there to support them. So myself and Rachel are there to provide whatever it is that the focal ministers need to support their ministry and their mission, and that will be different in different places.
Wonderful, thank you. So to kind of summarise the whole journey through mission action planning in this section, in order to go from stage 1 to stage 2, that's when a PCC will be exploring focal ministry and what it might look like in their context. And then the next step would be to actually launch focal ministry, so to sort of nominate and discern with and then authorise some focal ministers. Mm-hmm. And then lastly, it's about keeping going on that learning journey, so people are sort of taking advantage of the resources and of the training that's relevant for them and that's useful for them.
Exactly.
Wonderful. And if you'd like to get in touch with Sally or Rachel from the focal ministry team, we'll put their email addresses at the end of this video. Thank you so much, Sally.
Thank you.